known by its map designation as Area 51.
We're now learning Area 51,
known as Area 51.
Thank you for clearing that
Area
up.
51.
Thank you.
Known as Area 51.
Because Area 51 is very important.
They called him Jimmy, and everybody wanted to be his friend.
What's good? What's good? Welcome here, Area 51. Here with Jimmy, your host, and Golden Era, your favorite channel when it comes down to boxing. There's nobody who says the things that we say here. And, we are very controversial, but not because we want to be controversial, but really because the sport of boxing itself is being controversial because a lot of the fighters don't want to fight each other. They keep ducking each other, and a lot of fans are going by A side and B side, but we don't care about that. We're boxing purists, and we just want to see the best fights in the sport. That's all we want to see. Boxing has really good fights that can be made, and a lot of these fighters are just ducking, and we don't care about how commercial you are or your money or all that garbage. We don't give a fuck about that. We just care about real boxing. So give us a like and subscribe if you like the realist. Also check out goldeneraboxing.com, and also for more information, analysis, and history of boxing, we have that available for you for free. All right, so let's talk some boxing right now. I was watching a few interviews of David Benavidez, and David was actually, speaking to Brian Custard and also Stephen A. Smith. He's been getting a lot of attention lately. I think he's the new face of boxing. I knew David way long ago, probably around 2016. I was already speaking about him and writing stories about him. And he's definitely a fighter that, I'm very proud of because, I knew that he was going to be a world champion. And nobody gave him a lot of credit after that Ronald Gabriel fight, but I told everybody that, he would eventually beat Ronald Gabriel, and he did in the second fight. It was just a little slip. He was, growing and getting better. So that's what happens, in the sport of boxing. You only can get better if you don't learn from if you learn from your mistakes. That's the only thing you can do, and if not, then you're gonna lose. But either way, in the interview, there was one thing that caught my attention, and I was a little bit saddened to hear about this because it really pisses me off. So he was basically saying that after this fight with Caleb Plant, he's going to go and try to fight David Benavidez to be undisputed. Now, unfortunately, he said that if he couldn't get that fight with David Benavidez, that means that he's actually going to go and move up to 175. Now, I think that is a bad mistake, and I feel sorry for him because, first of all, Canelo Alvarez is not going to give him the opportunity to fight for a title. Canelo Alvarez is a pussy. I'm sorry, he's just a duck and a pussy, and he's never wanted to fight David Benavidez, just like, he had a chance to be undisputed in 160 and fight Demetrius Andrade. He could have done that, and he totally ducked him and moved up to the division. I mean, that was insane, and people gave this man a pass like he's some sort of boxing god. Well, he's not. So the bad news is that Canelo Alvarez is probably going to vacate his title, or at the very least, he's not going to give David Benavidez an opportunity. If Canelo Alvarez vacates his title, then that's going to look like a real pussy because David Benavidez is mandatory. So now David Benavidez is basically saying, well, if I can't get the Canelo fight, I'm moving up. Now, here's the problem I have with that, because I think that David Benavidez should stay in 168, and if he can't get that Canelo fight for undisputed, don't worry about that, because you can fight Demetrius Andrade. I think that will be a really good fight. Demetrius Andrade being one of the most avoided fighters in the past decade, and actually in history. If you look at his resume, you understand his career. I had the opportunity to interview him, and also I've spoken to different people, and he's being very avoided for a reason. He's not the only boxer that's being avoided. There's many other boxers, but he's definitely one of them. And probably, I've never seen a career like that before. I've never seen so many fighters just ducking this guy off and on. And people are racist, so they're gonna try to go against him, whatever. But it's really sad what they did to his career. And this has happened before in the 30s with the Black Murderers Row. If you know the story of Burt Liddell, if you know the story of Eddie Booker and other fighters, which I'm versed on. It's they did something similar, but it was more based on not giving the opportunity to be national boxing champions. During the time when the NBA was the National Boxing Association, they couldn't be champions. They never got the opportunity. They were put in the colored league, And and it was and some fighters didn't avoid these fighters, but some did. So really sad that happened. Even Sugar Ray avoided a few of the Black Murderers Row during that time. So what I see with David Benavidez is just another way of ducking, and Canelo knows that he will get his ass beat. That's why he forfeit his undisputed chance to be champion at 168. I mean, he could have been undisputed 160. He would have done history with Mexico. There's never been an undisputed champion at 160, which is the Sugar Ray division, the Harry Grip division. He could have done it, and he never did it. And the reason is because Demetrius Andre was there, and he wouldn't have done it for 40 million, which is what he was offered. If it would have been some sort of British fighter or somebody, he would have taken the fight. But he fears Black American fighters because they are the elite. There's no question about it. Throughout their history, they've shown it over and over again. The issue with that is that, unfortunately, even though he's being avoided, David Benavidez has a chance to actually fight one of the most avoided fighters, and that will be a very good body in his resume. Now, if he fights Demetrius Andre, it will be a tough fight for David Benavidez, but I think that David Benavidez has a good chance to beating him because obviously he's been already going up 2 weight divisions, and his power might be an issue going up to 168. So David Benavidez should fight Demetrius Andre, who was the fighter that in history will be remembered as Triple G and Canelo Alvarez and Jermall Charlo avoiding this guy for sure. Okay. And I will speak more about him in a different video, but that's all you need to know. Those 3 fighters avoided him, and there were probably other fighters that avoided him as well. So you should fight Demetrius Andre. That's going to really help your legacy because you're going to fight one of the most avoided fighters in history, and you should do that. If you do that, that will be good for your resume, and I think he can beat Demetrius Andre at this point at 168. Now, the other fight he should do is going to be another killer in that division who is more dangerous than Canelo Alvarez and also Caleb Plant, and that would be none else than Damaro Jr. I also put a picture here of what's his name, Demetrius Andre. I think Damaro Jr. is a real problem for that division. I think Damaro Jr. will be definitely a fighter that Canelo Alvarez will avoid at all costs. This guy is very dangerous, and I think he's the most dangerous player in that division at 168. And Canelo Alvarez versus Damaro Jr. will be a hell of a fight. That's probably the only fighter who I would have to put ahead of David Benavidez as far as betting for him. I think Damaro Jr. can beat David Benavidez. I think David Benavidez can beat Andre. I think he can beat Canelo Alvarez. I think he can beat also Caleb Plant, but I don't think he can actually beat Damaro Jr. And the Cuban guy is dangerous. He's a dangerous fighter. So it will be a good idea for David Benavidez to fight this guy who is right now one of the most dangerous fighters in that division. And Damaro Jr., he can box, he can move around, he has the reach, he has the strength. He's also just as tall as David Benavidez, so that is up to a really good fight. And if he just beat just Demetrius Andre and Damaro Jr., those are 2 real killers of that division. And in my opinion, just beating those 2 fighters will be better than anything that Canelo has achieved in his career. Just beating these 2 fighters. These are very dangerous fighters, both of them. And I believe that both of these fighters would beat Canelo Alvarez easy. They would either box him or just destroy him. Canelo Alvarez, he has a certain style, but there's a reason why he's avoided. But I'm saying this as a boxing fan. Obviously, if you're racist or whatever, you're gonna give excuses, A side or B side. But that's that's for the new generation of kind of weak-minded boxing fans who didn't grow up in the 90s. So I'm talking to boxing purists. These 2 fighters will beat him, no question about it. And that's what Canelo Alvarez would never fight. And Canelo Alvarez will vacate his belts when Damaro Jr. Decides to, or is put as a mandatory, and because he's already the interim champion in the WBA, Damaro Jr. And Canelo Alvarez knows he wants nothing to do with this man, so he will definitely vacate for him and David Benavidez. So those are 2 good fights that he could he could match. I'm talking about David Benavidez and 168, and that could, spell good for his career. If he beats these two fighters, that will be really good for his career. And Charlo would be good too if he moved up, but Charlo's a pussy. Charlo's definitely not moving up. I'm talking about Jermall, his brother Jermell. He's a real warrior, and much respect to him. He's undisputed champion. But Jermall is a little pussy, so he's like Canelo Alvarez. He's another puss. So he wouldn't fight any of these two fighters. And that's the truth about boxing. I mean, this is a lot of people were talking about Jermall Charlo, like this great guy, and I told everybody he's going to avoid Demetrius Andre, and he was speaking smack about David Benavidez, but he's not going to move up. So he's a pussy too. So you can forget about that. So now, obviously, now that he moves up to 175, he's going to have to face this fighter who is Arthur Beterbiev. And if I was David Benavidez, what I would do is I would go ahead and go for the two titles that Arthur Beterbiev has. Right now, I'm very disappointed with Dimitri Bivol. I think Dimitri Bivol is another guy who does not want to become undisputed. I don't want to hear anything about Dimitri Bivol, because there's no reason why he should have fought Canelo Alvarez. He was actually willing to go down to 168 to fight him. And to me, there's no other better fight right now than Dimitri Bivol and Arthur Beterbiev at 175. That is for undisputed. And Arthur Beterbiev has been fighting a lot of dangerous fighters, and he deserves to be undisputed. When Gozvik was in the division, Gozvik, for a lot of people, was considered a very dangerous fighter. Many people didn't even know about Bivol too much. And those who knew about Bivol and knew about Gozvik, a lot of us thought that Gozvik was going to beat Bivol. But Bivol didn't want that fight with Gozvik, and Gozvik took the fight with Arthur Beterbiev, and that was a brutal fight. And, Dimitri Bivol, since that fight, he does not want to step foot with Arthur Beterbiev. And I think that's actually terrible. I mean, that's really bad, because once again, this is another fighter who's robbing Arthur Beterbiev from becoming undisputed. And I don't know how fans tolerate this shit. I mean, it's just insane. You call yourself a boxing fan, and you're not going against Bivol because he doesn't want to unify with Beterbiev. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And also is depriving Bivol from becoming undisputed himself. I mean, he could become undisputed, right? I mean, he could definitely become undisputed if he just fought. But he is thinking about Canelo, and Beterbiev has said repeatedly that he wants to fight. Anyway, that's a different story. David Benavidez goes up there, go where Arthur Beterbiev has two titles. Go after him, become his mandatory, and he will definitely give you the fight. And if he fights Arthur Beterbiev, that will be a really tough fight. Arthur Beterbiev is a kind of older fighter, but he does have power, and he is very dangerous. And I think that David Benavidez versus Arthur Beterbiev will be a hell of a match. And I think he has a better shot to fighting Arthur Beterbiev than he would have fighting Dimitri Bivol, because Dimitri Bivol is kind of soft, in my opinion. He wouldn't fight Demetrius Andre. He wouldn't fight David Benavidez, and he definitely wouldn't fight Arthur Beterbiev. So I think that's what he should do, and then hope that Dimitri Bivol, if he beats Arthur Beterbiev, will give him a chance to become undisputed. Because I'm telling you right now, Dimitri Bivol does not want to become undisputed with this guy. I mean, sad but true, and that's robbing Canada from having an undisputed champion, since now, Arthur Beterbiev represents Canada. So I think if he does that, if he beats these three fighters that I've spoken about, I think he has a great chance in really. I mean, if he beats these three fighters, he's being really dangerous fighters. And if he did get a chance and also had a chance to fight Charlo and also Dimitri Bivol, that will be very incredible for his career. And I would have to say, I mean, this guy will be way ahead of Canelo Alvarez in many different ways, especially because he doesn't put rehydration clauses and all that garbage or fighting old people in their career, at least fighters that he knew he was going to beat. David Benavidez is taking the hard chance, so I think he should do that. And then if he is successful at 175, or he could try to be undisputed, once again that depends on Bivol, then maybe he can go to cruiserweight. Cruiserweight is not a division where a lot of people watch that division, but I do believe he would have hard challenges there, and I think David Benavidez can eventually try to be a cruiserweight. In fact, some people say he could be a heavyweight. I don't know about that. That would be incredible if he were to go to the heavyweight division. Some people, I mean, when he was younger, he did spar heavyweights and cruiserweights and light heavyweights. So the guy does have some experience with that. So it will be great to see him in those higher divisions and see how he does. But I really like Benavidez. I hope, if he doesn't get frustrated, if Canelo Alvarez, farts and shards all over his ass, because he doesn't want to fight him. I hope that I hope he fights these fighters, because I do believe he has a chance to really doing something special, and try to be undisputed, which is what we want in this channel, and it's what every fighter should want to have, for their own legacy. We don't care about A side, B side, we care about that. So anyway, give us a like, subscribe here, and also, you can check our webpage, goldeneraboxing.com, for more news and information. And to the next one. Peace out, and deuces cruces.